Hey everybody, Brett Mix here from Macho Wrestling 101, and today it's another in memory of. Today we already looked at Lanny Poffo, we already looked at Kurt Hennig, and we already looked at Mike Lockwood, Crash Holly. Today I'm looking at the life and death of Brian Pillman. Pillman lived an amazing life, very inspirational. Brian Pillman was born in Cincinnati, and he had up to 35 operations on his throat growing up. He had polyps located all over his throat, which led to a raspy voice. His early life was full of suffering. He was bullied as a child due to this, and he took his aggressions out in sports such as boxing and hockey. He felt that was the best way to utilize his anger. Pillman was a linebacker, a second-team All-American in his junior year, and a Division I All-American in his senior year. He went undrafted in the 1984 NFL Draft, but then he joined his hometown Cincinnati Bengals as a free agent. This is where he won the Ed Block Courage Award. The Ed Block Courage Award is given to a player from each team in the NFL who are voted by their teammates as role models of inspiration, sportsmanship, and courage. He later played for the CFL for the Stampeders in '86 and in one game for the Buffalo Bills in preseason in 1985. He sounds a lot like Rudy Rudigard, the true story of Rudy. You should go watch that if you've never seen it. I highly recommend it for underdog story. Pillman was in the light heavyweight division after all. He'd have the same height and stature as Rudy. Pillman was a very close friend to the Hart family. Both Pillman and the Harts have referred to themselves as being as close as siblings. Pillman stated that he loved Brett and Owen so much that he'd be willing to do anything for them. He was the only member of the Hart Foundation to not be related to the family either through blood or marriage. When Brian got into wrestling, he was groundbreaking. First, he went to the WCW, then ECW, then WWF, in that chronological order, the same as his good friend and partner Steve Austin. Pillman both revolutionized and innovated the light heavyweight division and transcended the times, inspiring other luchadors to perform the style of wrestling he brought to the table in North America as early in the 90s. His match with Jushin Thunder Liger at Super Bowl 92 is one of the best openers of all time. Pillman dated Terry Reynolds while they were together in WCW before she married Dustin Rhodes, Goldust, which would later be utilized in a 1997 angle between the two that Dustin Rhodes said he felt very uncomfortable doing. Melanie had two children, Alexis and Jesse Morgan, from previous relationships. Pillman adopted Alexis before his death. Pillman and Melanie Morgan were married on March 7th, 1993, and they were having problems during the year of Pillman's death. Pillman was sleeping in the basement most nights and called for a divorce. But Melanie, when interviewed about this, says that she was just trying to get him to wake up for a wake-up call. In 2017, Pillman's daughter Brittany claims that all the money given by WWF wrestlers to support Pillman's family was used by Melanie for drugs. And just last year, in 2022, Melanie Morgan was found dead at the age of 56 years old from issues surrounding her drug abuse. The death of Brian Pillman. On October 5th, 1997, at WWF In Your House Bad Blood, Pillman was scheduled to wrestle Dude Love at the WWF pay-per-view. Steve Austin relayed that Jim Cornette was instructed to find the whereabouts of Pillman. Jim contacted the Budgetil Motel in Bloomington, Minnesota, where Pillman had stayed the night before, and the receptionist said that Pillman was found dead in his hotel by the maids earlier that day at 1:09 p.m. Central Time. He was 35. An autopsy attributed Pillman's death to a heart attack. However, Austin explained that this was caused by previously undetected atherosclerotic heart disease, a condition which had also led to the death of Pillman's father. The next night on Raw, the WWF did a classy tribute to Brian Pillman, but later that night, Pro Wrestling Illustrated would call this the most unclassy thing of the year in their magazine when Vince McMahon interviewed the widow 24 hours after the death of Brian Pillman on Raw live for ratings. The interview was seen as doing in poor taste, as McMahon was getting crumpled by the WCW at the time in ratings and looked for anything to promote traffic as far as ratings go. Pillman's legacy is a success story, from the throat surgeries to the Ed Block Courage Award to the groundbreaking light heavyweight performances. and to being Attitude before the Attitude Era. You can't stress enough how much his attitude rubbed off on Steve Austin, who then utilized all of the attitude he got from Bryan. Bryan actually helped Austin out in his promos. People might be like, yeah, right, Austin's the king of the promo. Yeah, but Brian Pillman helped him with that. Pillman's attitude, if you even go watch back the 96 and 97 tapes, he was Attitude before the Attitude Era. I think he would have been huge had he been alive. But it goes more to about wrestling. It seems like a good human being. Owen Hart was said to be really choked up. Vince Russo tells a story about how Owen said to Vince in the locker room, he's not really gone. He's not really gone. Owen had a hard time accepting that Pillman was dead. So, rest in peace, Brian Pillman. He had an amazing life, an amazing story. I'm 36. I'm a year older. I can remember where I was when he died. I was living in a trailer in Prince George, BC, Canada, and I was about 11 years old, and I was a fan since I was 3, so at 11, I thought I was a diehard fan forever. So Brian Pillman's death was one of the first deaths that were like, it shocked me in my entire life, because I didn't have family members when I was 11 die that very much, so I was just shocked by the death. Me and my brother we were like, wow. We were Heart Foundation fans, obviously being Canadian. So, yeah, we took the death real hard. Nothing like Owen Hart, because, I don't know, Owen Hart just, he meant a lot more as far as who I resonated as a kid with. I didn't watch Brian Pillman live. I didn't find out Brian Pillman's best events until after he was dead. So when his death hit me, it didn't hit me as much as Owen's did. But his death is just as sad when you look back in retrospect. And you can't compare a death to another, really. I'm just explaining about the connection I had when I was a kid. But yeah, his death was tragic, and we want to pay respects to him on this channel. Just like we want to pay respects to every deceased wrestler that has paved the way for wrestlers of today, and for the stuff they've given us, all us fans. So rest in peace, Brian Pillman. I'm Brett Mix, and I'm out. Say your favorite Brian Pillman memories in the comments if you'd like.